Deputy Mattie McGrath.
Resignation of the Chief State Procurement Officer, Mr Paul Quinn, from the board of the National Children's Hospital is just one more incident, Minister, in a long line of incidents that have raised questions about the integrity and credibility of the entire oversight process related to this project. As is well known, I and my colleagues in the Rural Independent Group brought forward 2 Dáil motions to have this project halted and immediately reassessed. Unfortunately, both efforts were rejected by this House because of the confidence and supply. Right? Sorry? Well, sorry, we're here. Unfortunately, both efforts are rejected, as I said. That's why it's galling to listen now to the concern about suddenly developed around this process. It's quite galling. We had a chance on 2 occasions to stop the madness of the National Children's Hospital, and we chose not to do it. The Taoiseach said on Tuesday that the board of NCH and the entire process is subject to sufficient levels of oversight. That comment is almost, comical. What planet is he on? Who believes him? Nobody. We saw the fast that emerged after with respect to the PwC report in April last year. The review of the escalation in costs associated with the National Children's Hospital project demonstrated a glaring political unwillingness to pursue any kind of meaningful accountability, Minister. None. In fact, that report, like the site of the National Children's Hospital itself, would prove to be nothing more than a black hole into which we have poured significant amounts of public money for no good purpose. The PwC report was explicitly clear that the 9 organisations it interviewed during the process, not one of them included Connolly for Kids or any of the senior clinicians who had campaigned and forensically deconstructed the arguments of St James's for years. There was not a single interview, Minister, not a single interview with any of the tens of thousands of sick children and their families. Shameful, shameful. Not one. We have considered and agree with recommendations made by Messiah. This is what PwC said, and their reports relate to cost escalation and governance. The recommendations that we have set out below in this report do not replace those. So effectively, Minister, we spent another 600,000 plus to find out what we already knew. Scandalous, Minister, until it go down in the worst legacy, and I said it before, the worst Minister for Health that ever existed in this country. And you should hang your head in shame. And to tell me then, some reports in media and tell me you're biting chomping at the bit to get an election because you want to get out of that position so fast. No, I'm taking 5 minutes. And the worst, and you want to get out of it because you want to run away from it. Leave this mess. Professor Jimmy Sheehan and indeed Dr. Jimmy Professor Sheehan and Professor Finn Brannock have told you, Dr. Roisin Healy, John and Erwin and Jack and Jill, all the people, ambulance drivers, nurses on board, families have warned you about this site. And the biggest shame of it all for rural politicians, that's why we brought forward the motion, is that none of our grandchildren, and I have a new grandson born called last Monday week, thanks be to God, will never get into that hospital because they can't access it, because they can't get near it, and no helipad. It's a crying shame. You had Professor Finn Brannock and Jimmy Sheehan told you he'd build it for $1 billion, and he had a greenfield site of 100 acres, and he'd have 3 helipads, and he'd have a lake, and he'd have an ambulance for children to recover in. This is a kip inside in the centre of a city where there's no room for, and it will never come out of the back hole, and probably never finished. And people can fly away from it and hide, as you think you can run, but you can't hide, because the people in Wicklow know all about you, and are waiting for you very soon when you want this election is very imminent, and they'll give you your answer because you're not accountable to anyone, and you can dig and laugh all you want to. This is a travesty to the sickest of children, to the families that are so desperate for care for the little loved ones, and this is what you do to them, treat them like this, with a vanity project for 3 Ministers for Health, Dr. Riley, the now Taoiseach, when he's Minister for Agriculture, and yourself, and you're all saying it's a wonderful project, and it's all over the world comparisons have been made that is 5 times as dear as whatever's been built, and it's in the wrong place, and that will never be right. You can't access it by car, you can't access it by any way, by bus or by ambulance even, stuck in narrow streets, and nothing and the houses of the people around all damaged and undermined, and they're horrified with the project and the disruption. And then above all, the crime is no helipad. Imagine, no helipad this day and age, and you're talking about the most modern hospital that's of our time in this vanity project. It's a disgrace. As I said, the people I represent in Tipperary will never use it because they can't get into it, and they need it badly, but they won't be able to access it. No helipad. A small helipad for a small helicopter on the side of a third-floor building, and when it's a windy day, you can't go near it. Imagine the noise and the disruption the sick patient inside with a helicopter landing outside the window. It's a pure-out disgrace and a travesty and a rotten legacy that you'll have to your name. And I think how you can be proud of it, I don't know, but the people of Wicklow will give you your answer when they get you very soon.